my mom was a cookbook writer and my dad's a dentist. And neither of them had dreams of being music. They could barely kind of carry a tune. But I think they just saw Andrew and I light up anytime that happened. They saw us. They saw some kind of peace come over us when we were working together, trying to learn Wipeout or Johnny Be Good or Summer of '69. They were like, looks like they are actually I imagine them upstairs be like, they're getting along.
All right, hello and welcome to Low Down and Dirty. We're here today with Brad Barr from the Barr Brothers, and he's calling in from Montreal, I believe. How are you, Brad?
Good, Alan. How are you?
Good. So you are in Montreal, right?
I am in Montreal. Yeah, it's a nice sunny day up here. A little chilly now, and great city.
I don't want to start here, but I'm going to circle back to Montreal because I'm really interested in how you guys ended up there. But let's start first with why we're really talking, or what's the impetus for doing this now is that you guys have a new album out. Let It Hiss is the album. Let's just talk about that a little bit. One of the things that fascinates me with the way you guys sound is the line between songwriting and production / arranging, because I think it's really interesting. If you listen to your song sort of in the background or, not super closely, they sound sort of minimalist. And when you listen more closely or on headphones or just really tuned in, there's so much going on with the production, with, acoustic guitars coming in and out, electric guitars coming in and out. And so it just made me curious how much you craft that while you're recording them, how much you have a vision when you write the songs, or what the process is.
My early influences have a lot to do with that consideration. I don't know if it's obvious from listening to that record. I was a huge Steely Dan fan. Like I digested every single one of those records, every single song. Their level of production, the care they gave to each song, I think just sort of trickled in over time. And not that I aspire to that level of production, but always considering frequency as a player, as like a member of that band during that recording session. That's I guess that would be sort of a starting place is frequency. Using it to develop parts, to kind of treat every song like, making high end, low end, kind of treating it as surprises. I owe a lot to my brother's production senses are sort of on a heightened level from mine. If you had heard this record at the point where I was ready to stop working on it, it'd be a much different record. It's sort of a relationship he and I have, which is I'm the predominant songwriter. I sit here at my piano or with my guitar in my living room. I get the song into some kind of a shape that lyrically and form-wise it feels good. He has a much better sense of vision for the production, the potential of a song's production, and where I'm like, this sounds great. It sounds like we're in the ballpark here. I could let this go. It's usually another 2 months for him before he's ready to see it.
But then, do you sit down and play the parts like on "Take It From Me," which is the first song on the album? Yeah. I think that's a really good example of what I'm talking about, because there's not that much electric guitar. It's sort of atmospheric for the first, I don't know, third or half of the song. And then somewhere in there, this really cool soloing comes in, backing everything. And so I'm like, does he say, take this and go play some cool soloing? Or did you play that before and then he finds it and figures out how to mix it in and out of the track?
That it was more like that. Take It From Me, it was written on a a little Mexican guitar. I wish I had it with me here so I could show you my requinto. It's a 4-string single piece of wood instrument made in Tulum, Mexico, by a friend of mine. I wrote the song on that instrument. I did the bed track um, with just my guitar, with that requinto and my voice. I played it like that. I think I played it to a metronome. I took the solo with no other instruments around, and that was how that song began. And then it was a matter of,
Wait a
yeah,
second. That solo was played on a 4-string acoustic instrument?
yeah, a 4-string requinto, the same instrument that's doing the rhythm
Oh, yeah.
tracks.
Well,
That's
that's
doing the rhythm.
interesting. I have to go back and listen again with that in mind because I didn't pick that up at all.
Yeah, it's got that deep. It's deep tone. It's a nylon string instrument, so there's a lot of limitations. The intonation is not at all perfect. It was made pretty much on a beach and lived on a beach for like 2 years till it landed in my hands. And it was kind of a perfect instrument for me to receive at the time because it had all these limitations and all this humility. I had to, I started writing songs on that and had to keep them simple enough that they could work on that instrument. Naturally was written on that instrument. Take It From Me, English Harbor, maybe a couple
Well,
more. Yeah.
was that an intent? Like, let's see what I do if I play on this, or did you just get on a roll with it and keep going?
I just got on a roll with that and kept going. I met the guy who made it for me. I saw him perform. I was like, like he's doing everything I need for music on that little instrument. I asked him to make me one. He made me one and then told me that he actually thought I should have his old one instead. I don't know if he just made a nicer one that he wanted for himself, but however it worked out, I ended up with this instrument that I feel like I was supposed to have,
Let's go.
and got on a roll with it. And yeah, that was one that we had for about 4 years. I had the bed track. We tried some drum stuff. We brought it to our friend Sam Cohen in upstate New York, and Sam is the one who thought. Sam has produced Kevin Morby's last few records, and Sam was the one that said it should have that guitar beat on the second verse, that guitar chunk on the upbeats of the second verse. But the guitar solo, I guess I just had like a moment of grace with that one, where everything, and that's why everything strips away, is because I stopped playing the rhythm on that and just switched to the lead.
Wow. Um, so you and your brother have been musical partners for a long time now, so, 25 plus years. Um, yeah. I mean, did you grow up playing? Did you start playing instruments together at the same time? And do you still get along really well? Because I get along really well with my brother, but I don't know if I could have a 25-year creative and business relationship with him.
I see, older brother, younger brother.
He's older brother.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's responsible for a lot of my musical taste and inclination. So I
Okay.
always appreciate that.
Um, we get along in a way that's it's taken work. Um, like our parents gave us instruments when we were young. I don't even remember asking for them. I just remember coming down one day and there was a drum set and a guitar under the Christmas tree. And they actually gave me the drums and Andrew the guitar. It was about an awkward year there where we, both fumbled around and then figured, okay, he's the drummer, I'm the guitar player.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, this is one area where we can do this thing and not really fight. Like, this is the one place where all that kid energy, we could kind of put it right into that. And yeah, I'm sure I bossed him around a lot, as older brothers do, and he's always been this very supportive person. That's why he's out there drumming with all the people he plays with. He really is like one of the most supportive musicians. So that relationship, that dynamic, I guess we got lucky that way. I'm sort of, I'm kind of the like, look at me, I got this cool idea, and he's like, all right, I'll find a way to make that sound good.
Right.
And yeah, We fight, but there's no grudges. Things don't get like buried under the rug and not dealt with. Like they get dealt with head on. We can erupt quickly at each other. We try not to, but it's resolved very quickly. Like you know, apologies are made. Self awareness is invoked, and usually water is under a bridge
Right.
pretty quick.
Good. Well, that's the same as any healthy relationship. I've been married for 32 years, and
Congratulations.
thank you. People always say that, do you guys fight? I mean, uh, of course we disagree on things all the time, but yeah, it's the simmering resentments that, really cause problems in relationships. So,
And
um,
knowing that you're both working towards like we're both trying to make this thing better. We just have different ideas of what that is. It's there's also like okay, like he wasn't sold on the album cover for a while. I wasn't sold on the track list. Like he gave a little here, I give a little there. His compromises, etc.
when I was going through your catalog, getting ready to talk, I was struck. The song "Even the Darkness Has Arms" has like 120 million streams on Spotify,
Hmm.
which is a lot, for those who don't know. Um, how, how did that happen? Like, was it used on in a show or video or?
And I have no idea. I think my sort of reasoning is that when that record was released, our record label had a sort of new relationship with Spotify, who wasn't that old at the time. It was 2014. I don't know what year Spotify hit the sort of map, but I think it was just one of those tracks that got put on a lot of playlists. I'm guessing that of those 110 million streams or something, I'm guessing that 109 million of them were not people, or more, were not people knowingly playing that song. It was just that it was like in a coffee shop, but added to like who knows how many different playlists and getting played. I think that's my best sort of guess at why that song has so many streams. Um, Although when we were out with Mumford and Sons, talking to people after our set, we'd play that song every night. Talking to people after that set, a lot of people were like, "You guys, oh, what was that cover song you played
Yeah,
during during your set?" And
because they know it in it's like part of their DNA or something without realizing it because they've heard it so many times.
yeah,
Well, that's amazing. You
that's my
created
best
something
guess.
that's become part of the fabric of people's brainwaves or something.
Completely unwittingly, had nothing to do with it other than
Yeah, well, it's really cool.
trying.
It's a good song. Really,
Thanks,
really, it holds up.
thanks.
Um, so you guys have done a lot of touring with Mumford and Sons, right? And you're about to go back to Europe and do some pretty big shows, right? And Andrew has played with them. Does he currently play with them?
Yeah, Andrew is the current drummer in Mumford and Sons. The whole thing came about when Aaron Dessner of the National invited Andrew to come do a recording session. He calls Andrew for a lot of gigs. Andrew's ended up on the Gracie Abrams record, um, Eve Owens record, bunch of stuff that Aaron produces. Calls Andrew. Andrew comes down, doesn't even know what he's playing on. Halfway through the session, he learns it's a Mumford and Sons record. Goes back to Montreal. Got a call a month later that was like, they love your playing and are wondering if you'll join the band. So and I talked with Marcus Mumford about this. He was like, "Yeah, your brother is one of two drummers that I feel like I can really play with." He's like, "There's something about the way he." It's kind of what I was saying before. He's just supportive. He listens to lyrics. He responds to lyrics. I like to think that I drilled this into him over the years, but I probably can't take any credit for that. Um,
Well,
and
probably the fact that he was brothers with the person writing the songs, and that you did have an intimate relationship, and the slip was always a trio, right?
Yep,
So that tends to involve the drummer a little bit more musically than in a larger band where they shut up and count to four.
yeah,
So I think that makes sense that all of those things are that's a chicken and egg situation. But I see how his involvement in these types of projects would make him big eared.
Yeah, and a sort of and a really an asset to any band out there who's trying to do more than just phone it in, which they do. I like Mumford and Sons. I'd never listened to their music that before seeing them live. I'd heard the hits. I'd heard admired what they did. Always thought Marcus had a great take on a folk song, but I hadn't like sat with their music for a while, and they don't phone it in. They're up there like there's yeah.
I was the same with Mumford and Sons. My wife works at NBC News, and so she was at the SNL 50 show, musical show
Okay.
at Radio City last year. And, of course, she had a great time. But the band that she came back talking about out of everyone who performed at that thing was Mumford and Sons.
Oh yeah.
She was really, really taken by the performance, which I also was watching on TV and thought it was great. So she's been really put us on a Mumford and Sons kick. She plays it all the time at home. And so anyhow, I've spent a lot of time listening, and yeah, I was check.
Gained
I got to figure out
appreciation.
when I can catch up with you, uh, and them, and see, bring her to a show, which would be
Well,
which would be great.
we yeah, and please do. You guys are
Yeah.
more than invited on the guest list and stuff. But we only did 9 shows with them so far. We did Chicago and then a little sort of Midwest loop. Andrew's been on the road with them since like March, but this was the first time the Barr Brothers jumped on board. It was in October, and first time I'd ever played in rooms like that. First time I'd ever used in-ear monitors. And then we're going to continue, in Europe for 5 shows in November.
How is that for him to play do double duty?
It was fine, actually. He seemed totally at ease until he had the third element of his son. Both of our sons came on the road with us also for the Mumford tour. It's a really good opportunity for kids because there's catering backstage, tons of people to hang out with the kids. We're on a bus so the kids can see. But when I think when Andrew's son Otis showed up, Andrew was like, finally I could see him starting to. His brain was just split just enough times. He handled it. He handled it fantastically. And he's only up with Mumford for about half their set. Also,
Okay.
the other half Marcus is playing his kick drum, standing in front of the stage.
You guys are from Providence, Rhode Island, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we're in Boston for quite a while.
10 years.
And then ended up in Montreal. So can you tell me a little bit about how and why you decided to move to Montreal, and how, if at all, it's impacted you to now be sort of a Canadian band?
We moved to Boston in '95 to go to Berkeley, and we had a great run there. The Slip was basically solidified. It's in Boston. Started touring out of there. Had a great run, and by 2005, I think I'd kind of become disenchanted with what felt like the limitations of kind of the jam band scene, and my own limitations, like what I was putting into the music. I just felt like I needed a change. Wasn't sure how it was going to come about. The Slip had yet to record Eisenhower, our last record, but we sort of decided to take a break. In that time, somewhere in that time, Andrew met his now wife, Megan, and they started this kind of long distance relationship. There actually is a story about this, which I don't know, listeners might enjoy hearing, which was that the Slip was playing a venue in Montreal in 2003. We would always play in Montreal in May. Playing this venue, the venue caught on fire during our show, and everyone had to go out onto the street. It's like you could see flames were coming out of the backstage room. It was like it escalated quickly. Smoke
This wasn't a
alarms.
false alarm. This was a
No, it
flame
was a
fire.
real thing. It was So we all ran out with our guitars and watched the fire trucks came and put this out. And that's where my brother met Megan. She was a server at the bar. He remembered her for a year. When we returned to Montreal in May of the following year, he looked her up, located her, and there was this romance that started there. So by 2005, they were like, it was up and running. And he told me he wanted to move there to be with her. I lasted about a month without him uh, in Boston. Um, I said, all right, I'll just go up. They found me a room. I drove my Honda Civic up. I planned to stay for the summer, and it's now been 20 years. Um,
Was she dating a banker? Because if she was, it could be a rom com.
she she had been dating another drummer actually, and actually wanted nothing to do with my brother because she was like sworn off drummers and musicians. Uh,
Yeah.
and Andrew actually met the drummer and talked about met her ex her he was about to be her ex-boyfriend. He met this guy and had to start a conversation where they discussed what Andrew was doing there, which involved, oh, I'm here to sort of pursue this girl that I got a crush on. And Andrew told her ex-boyfriend the
Uh,
whole story. And then at the end, the guy realized he's talking about my current girlfriend.
oh, they were still
Uh,
dating.
they were still dating. They're on their way out. I don't think the now ex knew that, but he had
Yeah.
to listen. Just a sort of funny side note to that. But yeah, I just moved up. Montreal at the time. Arcade Fire was kind of just about to explode. We saw them play at like a small venue here. We're like, damn, that's some energy right there. That is some like do it yourself energy that felt kind of closer to Providence, actually, with all the stuff we grew up within Providence. From Lightning Bolt, Fort Thunder, RISD students, like build loft spaces. It was like, this feels cool, and it's in a whole different country. And also the Broken Social Scene. That record was pretty recent, only like a year or two old, and a lot of those members were in Montreal. So like, if these two projects are coming out of this area, I think we can,
Must be
and we
something happening. Yeah.
must be something happening there. Why don't we just go and see what's up?
Yeah. And it's a beautiful city, and it's, so close to the US, and yet it's very much not the US.
Yeah,
Um,
all those things.
and so Jim James guests on the new album. How did that come about? And um, is My Morning Jacket a big band for you guys?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Almost to the point where like it was almost hurt to hear. And when I first heard them, it was almost painful because what he was doing with the dynamics of the band, like bringing it down, his voice, so it could be so intimate and so huge, it could rock out. I think the Slip had never quite rocked out that way, and we always wanted to. Um, Jim kind of Jim, I remember playing a show in about 2005 or six and looking out in the audience and seeing Jim James. And then after the show, him coming up, I had just become aware of him. We were all like, is that the dude from that band, My Morning Jack? Is that guy? And I guess Jim's girlfriend at the time was like, you got to check out this band, The Slip. She brought him to see us. And I don't know if we asked him to bring us on the road or if he asked us, but somehow in 2006, the Slip ended up opening about 10 shows for My Morning Jacket on the Z tour. Or no, on the Okanoka?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah. Well,
the other
whatever
one.
tour they did in
Whatever.
2006.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had us open, and that was kind of the first. That was our first experience with like, oh, a band with a tour bus and a record label and a audience of more than 500 or 700, like an audience of like 5 or 6 thousand people coming to their shows, and that's what that is. And watching Jim's like just be the coolest dude ever and talk to us like friends, respectful. Like he clearly enjoyed our music, and we didn't know what we were doing up there. I mean, how did we end up with this? Like, he's already a legend, and he's like, new on the scene. And we just stayed in touch over the years. Not like regularly calling each other, but anytime there's something cool in his end or my end, or we just want to. Sometimes I'll just throw him an email or something. Every couple times a year, just shoot him some kind of message, and then when that song came out, I think I always heard when that song came out of me, I always heard Jim's voice on
Mm.
that track, and so it was an easy one. Called him up, sent him the track. Within 3 hours, he was like, "I got to catch a plane, but I'll try and do this before I leave." And he sent us this track, which was like unedited, unfiltered, unfucked with, raw Jim James singing a harmony part to my lead. So like extremely vulnerable, just to be singing an upper harmony part that's not that melodic or exciting. It's very supportive. It was one of the most like sort of the hair stand up on my arms
Yeah,
moments.
and that's amazing that he could just do that. But I just finished reading a biography of the Cars by Bill Janovitz. I
Oh,
reviewed it in today's Wall Street Journal, actually. But
oh wow.
Ben Orr, is this incredible singer. He sang the lead on Drive, and he sang a lot of the songs that people think Rick Ocasek sang. And apparently, he would be sort of he was also the bass player, but he could be really disengaged in the studio. He was a little,
Okay.
and everyone else just like slaving over tracks, and he'd sort of hang out. He'd be smoking cigarettes or just whatever, and then they'd call him in to do a vocal, and he would knock most of that stuff out in one take. It was interesting. Some people just, I guess, just have that. They hear it in their head and they sing it and they execute what they wanted to do. And
Could easily go off on a tangent here, but Andrew and I were just talking about, we're like, remember we were like huge Cars fans in 84,
yeah,
85, like when MTV and Magic and You Might Think, and like we were like, the guitar sounds, the vocals, they were
I would
awesome on
really
that.
recommend the book. It's called "Let the Stories Be Told." It's a new biography by Bill Janovitz, who's the Buffalo Tom,
Yeah.
singer guitarist, and so it's definitely written from a musician's perspective. A
Right,
lot of
right.
the, when they're talking about the recording sessions and stuff, he sort of approaches it and asks the questions that I think you would or I would,
Okay.
which you'll enjoy it for
Let the
sure.
stories be told.
Yeah, it's just the new. I think it's the only full Cars bio, so you won't have any trouble
Okay.
finding
Oh,
it.
that's fun. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so going through the Slip catalog, also getting ready to talk. I was just flipping through so much stuff, and I stumbled on a song I had never heard, "Firewater,"
Oh boy.
and I really liked that track, and it felt to me out of the Slip catalog the most similar to what you guys are doing now. You could take that and put it on one of the Barr Brothers albums quite easily. I think. Um, does that make sense to you? And
Man. So that was I can't actually call to mind what that song is because it was an improvisation from a little cafe in Northampton, Massachusetts that someone had come along. It was like right at the time where Dean Butnick was like coining the phrase jam band, and he put it on a compilation called Help Us Get High. And then the cover was two hippies, like two drawings, like illustrations, like rough kid-like illustrations of two hippies with their eyes bugging out. It was like a grotesque cover. It said "Help Us Get High," and we contribute this song. And the minute we saw the cover, we were horrified. And so I actually was like, I don't think I've ever listened to it. Maybe when we contributed it in like 1997.
wow,
So I'm really interested in what that track sounds like because
I
I
really like
remember.
it, and it's fascinating to me that it was such a sort of throw off an early track for you because like I said, I feel like there's a line there to what you're doing now. And I hear in your guitar playing on that track, and I hear it on this album and more on the Barr Brothers, some of the desert blues
Oh yeah,
influence. I don't know if that was an influence on you, but I hear it in there. I'm thinking of Tanara Wen and some of those guys.
yeah.
Does that track with you at all?
I think in '97, I think we had already been exposed to that music, mostly through the Malayan musicians. The sort of brief history of it is that my dad was a dentist in Providence, and in the, I guess, early '90s, some Malayan guys had come over to teach at Brown University. Or one guy had come and brought, like, kept calling his cousins to come.
Yeah.
So by
How it
like
works.
91 or so, there was this community of, like, I don't know, a dozen guys from Mali, and one of them went to my dad to get his teeth worked on. My dad worked on his teeth, like, didn't charge him. Could tell this guy was in pain, needed dental work, fixed his teeth for free, and but said, but as an exchange, my son is a drummer. Andrew was probably 15 at the time, 14. My son's a drummer. If you'd be interested, if you would maybe give him a drum lesson. So we started hanging out with these Malayan guys. Andrew started taking like djembe lessons, and they started to introduce, a lot of them played all the instruments, played guitar, djembe, balafon, kora, any kind of percussion. And we would hang out with these guys, and that stuff seeped in. We'd go over to their house, and
What were they
this
playing?
continued.
Like is this sort of some like Ali Farka Touré style stuff? Because I think he's like a pantheon artist to me.
Yeah,
He belongs, to be mentioned with any of the greats.
yeah, agreed. And he was sort of like the patriarch at that time of that. Like, those guys all revered him. He was from Mali. He was from uh, either Timbuktu or Bamako or somewhere in between. He had this crazy
He had a
story.
record Talking Timbuktu, so I
Yeah,
always assume, but I don't
but
know
yeah,
for a fact that he's
right.
actually from there. But yeah.
Yeah, Andrew actually went to Timbuktu
Oh
and
wow.
studied with that drummer. That drummer, Abdul Dumbia, who had come to Providence in the late '80s, early '90s, brought a handful of drummers with him back to Mali, and Andrew went with him and studied there, lived there for like 2 months and studied. Um, so we were getting it kind of firsthand from these guys, and learning about the sort of the plasticity of that, like, how, okay, they just got a rhythm, they pass it around, everyone takes it, does their little personal statement on it, has some solo moment. There's these parts that they all know together, call and response things. They signal this way, everyone else responds this way. And it was really an early influence on the Slips music, and so I'm not surprised at that time. And there was a guitarist named, his name was Boubacar Diabate. He was like the youngest of them all. He was like the kind of wiry younger brother of them, and he had a lot of those guitar licks. There's that way of sliding around the blues that wasn't the blues that I knew from the Delta or from, Angus Young or something. It was like there was this different kind of blues, different articulations, different places. So I think my ear immediately went to that stuff and probably tried to imitate it, and I've been trying ever since.
I want you to go back and listen to Firewater and then
Yeah,
let me know what you think.
it's probably on Spotify, right? It's probably, or
Yeah, that's where I
whatever
listened to
platform.
it. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
I was just shuffling through. I didn't want to listen just the whole albums of Slip. I wanted to kind of, get the breath. And so I was popping around. It came up, like in their feed fairly quickly. So I think I didn't look. I bet it has more listens than you think because they fed it to me, on a shuffle of the Slips music.
I know it was an improv, and we called it Firewater because it was the place we played. That the show that it was taken from was at the Fire and Water Cafe in Northampton, where the owner's name was Star, and the entire place was a tribute to their son who had been born, stillborn son, and the whole venue was a tribute to this baby who lived
Well,
for about 20 minutes. And it was like a beautiful. The couple was a really sweet couple. We would go back there, play there, it'd be like a vegetarian restaurant kind of thing.
that's amazing. So the Slip was signed to Butch Trucks Flying Frog Records. And how did that work out for you? And how was Butch as a label owner? Because he signed great bands and he had great ideas, but the label never really quite flew. But I was wondering how it was for you, and was it a good experience in the end? I mean, it helped you get out there, I believe. And
Well, I think the catalyst for that deal was that there was another band who we were huge admirers of, who were friends, who became friends of ours. We were first in awe of their music. They're called Schleho.
Right.
Schleicho. Schleho. They were a four-piece from like Western Mass or upstate New York. Great guys. I still am in touch with a few of them. They Butch came to both of our bands. I want Slip and Schleho. And we're like, well, if Schleho's going with this got it. I mean, we were all kind of like, is this isn't exactly the record deal situation that we ever dreamed of. It's Butch Trucks. He's a drummer. Does he know how to run a record label? But he talked a pretty big game. He's like, I've got this guy. I'm going to put you guys on the what was it called, the Peach Squad or
Right.
something. Like, get you in front of all the Allman Brothers fans. We're going to have you opening for the Allman Brothers, which we did one time. We slept open for Allman Brothers at Great Woods. We're going to just plug you guys into the Allman Brothers, network, and meanwhile, I've got all these people working. It sounded like, okay, maybe he's a drummer who has good business chops. We were certainly not a band with like good record label chops. We didn't know how to really do that, like follow up things. We were a live band who just liked to go out and tour. Butch was always charming, always really endearing, and always had some kind of wisdom. I mean, come to think of it, he's probably not much older than I am now. Yeah, I'm 50 now. He probably was, this was like 90, 98.
Yeah, he probably was younger than
He's
50,
probably
but
younger than
I could
50.
uh yeah, he probably was I could figure we could figure it out really quickly, but yeah, he was probably
Yeah.
born around 48, 49. So yeah, probably was about 50. Yep.
Yeah, he had a lot of good wisdom. Clearly, also like sort of there was a big cultural difference. Him being from like where are they from?
Well,
Alabama,
Butch is from Jacksonville.
from Jacksonville. Okay, there was some cultural stuff that were like, ooh, okay, like some things that came out of his mouth that we were like, okay, all right, okay, that's interesting. Um, but hell, man, we were huge Allman Brothers fans. I mean, this was royalty. This was royalty coming down from above to like extend the hand to us. Like those records cannot overstate how huge those were for us. The Live at the Fillmore, Eat a Peach, brothers and sisters. I mean, all of them. It was just like they knew how to take rock and roll and add improvisation, add groove. The pocket he had with Jemo. So there was no doubt we were going to follow his lead. We were just like, yeah, okay. I mean, that was our answer. It was just like, okay.
Right. That's amazing. Um has there been I since you've been in Montreal, do you have any like the CBC I believe still has the rules that radio has to play a certain amount of Canadian uh
Mm.
acts,
Content,
yeah,
right?
content, which has helped, was pretty important for some early Canadian bands breaking. I don't know if that applies to you or like, has there been any advantages to being a Canadian act, or do you in that regard?
Hmm. I hadn't thought of it in terms of radio. I just thought they liked our music. Now I think,
Yeah.
man, Jesus,
Yeah.
this is someone standing over them, like play the Barr Brothers. Um, maybe a little of both. Um, well, there's a grant system here that has been helpful for like touring and expenses. There is a whole thing in place in Canada, in Quebec specifically, to help developing artists get off the ground. There's a few grants, and a big part of what management companies up here do is help these artists write grants, apply for grants. In fact, there's no management group here that isn't like actively engaged in getting grants for their artists. As far as the Canadian content stuff, I actually don't know. But I do know that the advantages of the grant system are that you know
Yeah, that's tremendous.
it's
I mean,
it's tremendous. It's really helpful. It also makes it sometimes hard to tell. Like you know, I don't know how I'm going to say this without it sounding like a diss, but I feel like it can make some Canadian artists kind of complacent and fearful about just going. Like the way I came up in Boston was you hit the road with nothing. You hit the road. Your mom packed you a bunch of tuna fish sandwiches, and you went out there and you slept on every couch that you could get. You show up to the gig. You didn't know who was going to take you on. I've seen a lot of people like, well, I can't really tour until I know if I'm going to get this grant, or I'm waiting to get this grant to find out if I can do this recording session. We just went in with, we just found a friend who had microphones and knew a thing or two. It's like, at worst, it maybe prevents people from feeling like they can just like they can go out and do stuff. That's the downside to the grant system, I would say, is like, and it's not very discriminatory either. Any like you have your I's dotted and T's crossed, a lot of people can get grants, not based on, well, how awesome is your band? Like
Right.
how many, yeah.
You've been doing this for a long time, and your brother goes out and does these tours with and recording sessions. So he has a whole uh, alternate or side career to what you're doing together. What do you do when he's doing that? And have you had a day job? Have you been able to support yourself as a musician?
Yes, I mean, yes, I've been able to support myself as a musician. No, I haven't had a day job, not since '96, I think.
Yeah.
But
Well, if it has a
I,
9 in front of it, that's a good run.
yeah,
So
okay, yeah.
yeah.
But I do work as a musician, like in our studio. Like during the pandemic, we did a lot of work for companies that needed music. There was a sort of immersive event, light show event production company up here called Moment Factory. While live shows were on pause, they were doing these sort of spread out outdoor immersive light show things. So we were creating music for them. Um, I have, there's kind of no shortage of studio work should I choose to pick it up. But I also play a lot of solo shows. I try and book solo shows when Andrew's out there. I do. I probably played in 2025. Probably played 30 or 40 solo shows.
And are the solo shows truly solo, or do you have
Yeah.
like, are you alone, or do you have a different band?
Truly solo.
Yeah.
I've never gone out with anyone other than the Barr Brothers. Like toured. I toured. I opened for Martha Wainwright on a run through the U.S. where I was just opening solo and then playing in Martha's band. But yeah, when I play solo, I just play solo. I bring way too much gear. Bring like 3 or 4 amps. Just like you know, two huge pedal boards with all kinds of weird routing to get all kinds of bass sounds and loop sounds. I bring about 6 or 7 guitars and just try and live in a little sonic world there and do my songs, try and surprise myself.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I would love to see one of those shows.
Yeah, I'd love you to come.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one last question. I'm just curious about your father or mother, your parents giving you instruments at a young age. Were either of them musicians who had dreams of pursuing it as a career that they never fulfilled for one reason or another?
No, I wouldn't say that describes them. My dad was a guy who liked the blues. My dad was the first person to show me. I don't know. That's the first time. That's the
Yeah,
first time I ever saw anyone play guitar up close. Was my dad doing the sort of e blues, and he had this Yamaha acoustic at the house that my mom had given him. But I never really saw. I barely ever saw him take it out. I would take it out, look at it, and not really know what to do. I was taking piano lessons. My parents pushed piano lessons on me. I think that just the little interest I had in the guitar, just like opening the case and poking around, and that we were watching MTV a lot and sort of fascinated by the music on MTV, and trying to imitate it. They're like, oh, let's give them the instruments. Not my mom was a cookbook writer, and my dad was a dentist, and neither of them had dreams of being music. They could barely kind of carry a tune, but I think they just saw Andrew and I light up anytime that happened. They saw us. They saw some kind of peace come over us when we were working together, trying to learn Wipeout or Johnny Be Good or Summer of '69. They were like, looks like they are actually I imagine them upstairs be like, they're
Yeah,
getting along. They're and
that's
my dad just kept supporting that, and my mom as well.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, my brother and I both play guitar now, but neither of us really did when we were kids. I started before him, but I was also I don't know why. My parents made me take piano lessons. I took trumpet lessons because my dad played trumpet, but nobody ever
Nice.
thought to just buy me a guitar. Which I had a toy guitar, and all I wanted when I was a kid was like Glenn Campbell records and
Oh, sweet.
I buy any album cover that had someone holding a guitar, but somehow it still took me another decade until it occurred to me I could just actually buy a guitar and learn how to play it. So I wish I had started, when I first had the inclination. But anyhow, no, I was just curious because sometimes parents do see the opportunity to get their kids going on something that they had always dreamed of.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have three kids, and really none of them play instruments, although I tried with all of them to some
How
extent. And
how
they all
old
love
are they?
music. My kids are all grown up. They're in their 20s.
Okay.
Youngest
Oh
is
wow.
22.
Oh, you started young.
I did start young. Like I said, I've been married for
Okay.
30, almost 33 years. So,
My son's 11, and he doesn't really music. He hasn't been bit by the bug yet. He likes comedy. He likes making a beatbox stuff. Andrew's son, who is 8, cannot. You can't. He's insatiable. Everything. He wants to know everything. He wants to know what kind of Gibson Angus Young played, what year Angus Young's Gibson was. He like right now it's ACDC. There's no way this kid's not going to just keep going at music
right. Well,
hard.
kids
He
have that
writes records.
incredible ability to go deep. It's like so if when music is the thing, that's awesome. Like a lot of kids get into dinosaurs, they get into football, and they memorize, they know the statistics for everybody on their favorite team, or once they're into something they can really get into it. So music is probably healthier than Pokemon or Call of Duty or a lot of other things. So
That
that's great.
remains to be seen. That
Yeah,
remains to be seen.
well, it's worked out pretty well for you guys.
It's true. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky, and really grateful that you took the time to talk
Yeah,
to
no,
me
it's a
about this. I
pleasure.
had no idea
Listen,
what this was going to be, but very.
Derek Trucks told me when he was pretty young. Derek was unusually mature, but when he was already married, he and Susan were married, and he was sort of starting, and he said, our heroes like Jimi Hendrix and Dwayne Allman showed us how to be brilliant musicians and guitarists, but they didn't really show us how to do that and balance it with being a complete person and having a family and a family life. I mean, I'm
Hmm,
paraphrasing, of course, but that's basically what he said, and that's what we're trying to do.
hmm,
And that's very much why they formed a band together, and so they would be away from home at the same time, and they would be together. When the kids were little, they could take them with them. When the kids were getting older, his parents stayed. But anyhow, it is an intriguing balance, and I admired him and her for thinking it through to that extent and really making an effort to say we want to be the best musicians we can be, but we're not willing to sacrifice being fully functioning adults. And
wow.
you know, I think aside from the famous people I mentioned, we all know people, people like us who've been around musicians for most of our adult lives. We know examples of every sort. So it's not the easiest balance, but it's not impossible.
I've been the example of every sort
Yeah.
myself. I think I've only recently learned how to kind of be a responsible adult and a music. Wait, what was the joke? Uh, Son said, "Mommy, I want to be a musician when I grow up." Sorry, you can't do both.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of jokes like The other one I was going to say will make me have to censor the thing, so we can
Okay, all
talk
right.
about it off
You can
camera.
text. You can text it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brad, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'll stay in touch and look forward to catching up with you on the road.
Likewise, Alan. Yeah, thanks. And maybe Brooklyn or Philly in
Yeah, I just
February.
looked at your schedule. I actually have gigs myself the weekend that you're in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
But
Okay.
I literally just before we talked, I checked your schedule. But I will figure something out and catch up with you.
Tell me something. Can you hear the guitar?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me what we got here. Ready? Ring a
Uh,
bell?
yeah, it sounds beautiful and it's very familiar, but it's not coming in strength.
Glenn Campbell, Wichita lineman.
Oh yeah, of course.
One of my favorite guitar solos ever with the
Yeah,
tremolo on it.
yeah, and Junior Mack, who's an incredible guitarist and singer that I have a band, Friends of the Brothers, with. He's an incredible singer. He does just a beautiful version of that. I mean, he can sing it like nobody's business. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's just yeah it's and you know Jimmy Webb, who wrote that, honestly I didn't realize that he's still alive and performing. He came
Yeah.
to New York City Winery recently. Unfortunately, I was out of town because it blew my mind. I would love to see Jimmy Webb. I don't know how he is as a performer, but just one of the really truly great songwriters.
Yeah, he's got that, like, he's just kind of like elfish enough that he feel like he could live to be 150 or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, again, Brad, thank you very much for your time. It was great catching up with you.